Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to glorious Royan, and it's lovely to be able to say that after this morning, the weather this morning. Benji Rees and Hannah Pendlebury alongside you for the European Beach Ultimate Clubs Championships, and belatedly, we've got our first women's division action of the day with the earlier rounds. I don't want to say they were cancelled because they were not, but they were spread onto some of the ancillary fields as well, which meant that we didn't see the Kasayatsa versus Kremas game this morning, which bit of a bummer because I was kind of psyched about that, but this is a decent way to kick off. To be honest, we have Guayota from Spain, from Tenerife, in fact, your, what's the one I'd say, your travel buddies, and Copenhagen Hucks, of course, from Denmark. How you doing, Hannah?
I'm very well, thank you, Benji. As yes, you mentioned, I got to spend some quality time with Guayota yesterday evening / this morning because their flight was very delayed. They were on the last plane into Bordeaux airport, and we had a shuttle that arrived in Royan at about 3 a.m. this morning. So hopefully they are feeling fresh.
Yeah, it's not ideal, to be honest, but I back them. They're more than used to this surface, of course. This is the default, really, for most Spanish teams, but especially when you live in the Canary Islands.
Oh, absolutely.
It's decent. It's weird feeling that, oh, what, Guayota are Spanish? Why have they had to get a flight here? Because the Canary Islands is essentially not even Europe.
Well, it is a fantastic part of the world to visit, and certainly in terms of the, obviously coming out at this European Beach Ultimate Championships, I am delighted to see Guayota entering the Open and Women's Division, because we've seen them dominate in mixed so often, so it's time to see what they can do when they split and go into those more segregated gendered divisions. But Hucks also with a pretty tasty roster, some athletes that you see time and time again in terms of representing on Danish national sides, and of course household names such as Maya Milek, who's back in Denmark, I believe, but cheeky pickups in the form of Grażyna Klibiczka of Poland and Eva Marlene Müller from Germany.
Yeah, both of these sides off to a winning start this morning in their slightly delayed games. Guayota 12-6 over their compatriots Parrochas, whereas the Copenhagen Hucks kind of barreled their way to a 13-3 win over Swarm from Zurich in Switzerland. So one of those sides is going to snap that winning record here as we get underway, and the pool lands out of bounds and will be brought in at the Brickmark by one of the Royan sisters. This is Rika. It's slightly difficult to make out the numbers on the back of the Hucks jerseys. Black on purple, not necessarily known for the colour contrast.
I'm not here for it, Benji.
Anyway, we've said our piece now. Here's Milek. Looking for an option, swinging central. Yeah. Lovely quick disc movement here from Hucks. Getting to a little bit of a jam on the sideline. Milek underneath, trying to open up the arm. Being forced into a higher stall here. Oh, a cheeky little hammer. I think that was stripped, and everyone on the field agrees as well. Toscano just getting there a little bit late. But I tell you what, that was a congested area. And as they get closer to the end zone, it feels like Guayota are really ramping up the defense as that one somehow sneaks back into Milek's clutches. Wonderful inside break. Thought about the continuation, but it's not quite there. Back to Milek. Oh, and it just zipped right through her hands. That's a rarity.
Discus disappearance. That was just bizarre scenes, but a clap of doom for Milek.
So Guayota, now a chance to break on the first point of the game. Gonzalez, central, dished off. Getting a nice little bit of flow going just outside the end zone here. Cristina Navasa thinks about the down the line pass. Centered to the scorted Yaiza Ramos. Now Toscano. Patricio Gonzalez zips that one into the front of the end zone. Defender bids but doesn't get there. Mata Ortiz Anieros makes it 1-0. A break to Guayota on the first point of the game.
Well, I'm not overly surprised. The level of defense that Guayota were putting on is pretty tight. Certainly really stifling those downfield options, throwing lots of resets and just trying to attack the break space were Hucks. But yep, that pass to Milek, not able to be connected with, and just really good flow for Guayota. Bit of a trust ball as they're squeezed to this near corner, but that'll do just enough, and a good statement to open this one.
1-0. The Spaniards lead. Also, this I'm not quite sure what colour I'd call the Guayota uniforms. What, an aqua maybe? Against the purple. Interesting kit colour matchup. That's the one you don't see very often. Noah. Trying to get that little slashing cut up line to Müller. Trying to shoot for the back of the end zone. Too much on it. Stalso was never going to be able to get there.
No, a nice idea. The lefty backhand of Müller is usually pretty reliable, but that one just sailing, too much zest on it, not enough touch.
So another break opportunity. Cristina Navassa is going to bring to the front of the end zone once again.
And the first look at some Guayota upwind offense.
Already at half field. Going to center the disc. Anieros. That's going to be low into a very congested area. And in the end, the sand comes out the victor.
As I say, the ground is always open.
Maybe that's why I keep throwing to it. Pick. You see just the biceps flexed.
Love that lefty scuba from Müller.
Getting a little bit creative. On the far sideline, that looks like a foul. A foul is indeed called. So going to wait to get checked back in here. Down the line, looking for Jakobsen. Is a champion on the beach here, won the way back at the first EBUCC with Seagulls. But this time it's turned over, and Guayota looking for another break.
Yeah, always nice to see Jakobsen back with the Danes.
That one all off the hands. I think the bit of Jakobsen did enough to just put the receiver off the catch. And Hucks picking up quickly, who, despite their name, I think looking for a shorter option. And they are squeezing that one down the far sideline. The pole, Klabitska, lovely. Look at the loft on that high release backhand, over the top and into the end zone for the score.
Yeah, lovely shot. Regina Klabitska, one of the elite throwers in Europe, I'd say, and certainly no stranger to beach herself, oftentimes found playing an everyone's favourite designer party team, Diogo Benito.
So one apiece early in this game.
But that had a lot of turnovers, Benji, 2 apiece for that to eventually go the way of Copenhagen Hucks.
Yeah, there is a little bit more wind than we have seen earlier in the days. You might be able to see from the flags in the back of the picture. It's going left to right. So you look at it from the camera, you can just about see the Italian flag in the shot there. As this is the first time we're going to see Guayota come out on offense.
Yeah, curious weather conditions so far. The early stage games were very windy, and then sort of that big torrential downpour and the thunder and lightning that gave us a bit of pause. So we have another moment of pause for a pick on the pitch. Yeah, the wind has now re-arrived.
It's one of those things that I think you expect playing on beaches, that you will get the wind coming off the water. I must admit I haven't had a dip myself. And I'm probably not likely to either.
You're not going to get some restorative salt water on yourself?
God, no.
Well, maybe we'll get you in a paddle on Sunday.
Here's a high one. Shot towards the back of the end zone. Weighted well with the layout grab. That is sensational stuff from Paulina Dul.
Oh, whoa. I hadn't even noticed that Paulina Dul was playing for Guayota. What a pickup. Well, I'll tell you what, this is a fair fight then, because both sides have got themselves a absolute interstellar level Polish pickup, but Paulina Dul, my goodness.
It's one of those put the faith in the receiver on the full stretch towards the back of the end zone. That is a real beauty.
Well, a fantastic goal for Guayota, their first offensive hold, and mighty clean.
That's always what you want, especially if it, you know, your D-line gets on a roll early. Sometimes your offense takes a few points to come out on the field. They can come out a little bit cold. Not on that occasion. Jakobsen wants the around break, all the miscommunication with Klabitska. Another break chance, having just laid out for the score. Dul now picks up on the turn. Swing goes to Cristina Navasa. A little bit of a riser, not a problem. From Melgarejo. Swung all the way to the near side of the pitch, trying to stretch the Danes laterally here, Guayota. Aneros. Trying to sit one out into space on the wind. Oh, just a little bit too far out in front. Maybe a little bit of contact underneath it. Looks like there might potentially be a discussion to be had here. Clara Carlson was in the back just to try and clean up.
Well, in these windy, beachy conditions, you really do have to just, you know, be aware and cognizant of where the disc might end up sailing off to behind the packs. But that's going to be called clean and a turnover.
So Copenhagen Hucks will get another shot at this. Being corrected in the chat that Paulina Dul's been living in Tenerife for the past year, so.
Well, there we go. I'm always open to learning more about Ultimate players. It had escaped my attention. I'm surprised not to have seen more of that on her social media.
Here's the deep shot towards the back of the end zone. Oh, just, and I mean just out of reach. I thought for a second we were going to get another amazing layout at the back there, but just couldn't quite cover the ground on the sand.
Yeah, definitely someone known for her deep cuts is Christina Nuhr, long-time offensive cutter.
There is an injury called as a player for Hucks who has gone to the sideline. It might be Stalso, who's just maybe tweaked an ankle. You can see in the bottom of your picture. So both sides going to get the chance to make a substitution. Looks like it's Müller coming on for the Danes. And Dul will take it to the front of the end zone. Sticky coverage downfield though. Can she find a way to get the reset? Oh, that is going to float. Well boxed out. Downfield, that's going to float as well. Guayota getting themselves into some spicy situations. That flick bladed deep. Blades past the defender into Dul's hands. Dished off to Navasa. Tries to move the mark with that fake. Another zing in there. Jakobsen went up for it. And Dul, I think, just got caught a little bit in the sand. Another turnover. Neither side, I think, has been at their fluent best on offense.
No, this is turning into a little bit of a grindy point at this stage. Anieros with a nice idea. But I tell you what, though, big hats off to Cristina Navasa for that box out that would, maybe in some people's eyes, should have been a Callahan.
Jakobsen breaks to Carlson. Carlson uncorks the deep one. That one is bang on the money to Müller. And Müller, continuation into the end zone. Oh, I think that slipped through her hands and touched the sand. And Nuhr agrees.
Excellent spirit there from Christina Nuhr. And it's another turnover. Players perhaps Maybe taking a timeout, I think, would be a not nonsensible move, but it's going to be played in.
No time like the present for Guayota. Although, again, everything looking a little bit at 6s and 7s. And with the stall count rising, why not just put it deep? And Eros nearly got there, but the pressure was enough to prevent it going to hand.
Yeah, I think maybe that, there we go. Someone called a timeout and it was Copenhagen Hucks.
Yeah, chance for both sides, I think, to get that mental reset that might be needed at this point. So we'll take a little bit of a breather in the booth as well, and we'll rejoin you very shortly.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
July from Nottingham, England. The World Flying Disc Federation's World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. Live all-access coverage, including semis and finals, exclusively at ultiworld.com.
Welcome back to EBUCC here on the beaches of Royan. Copenhagen Hucks 2-1 down, including a break to Guayota of Spain. And Copenhagen Hucks taking a timeout here on offense after a bit of a marathon of a point. So I think maybe just get a chance to get a bit of energy back in those legs. I think probably both sides will appreciate. First pass goes to Jakobsen. Jakobsen back to Müller. Müller to Jakobsen. Dishing it off. Klebicka. Underneath, really jams that one into Noah, past the bidding defender. Now they're playing with a little bit of pace and verve. Are the Hucks past the bidding defender, Jakobsen. Did she scoop that before it hit the sand?
I believe the answer to your question, according to Christina Nerd, is yes, Benji. Equivocally, yes.
Everyone seems happy to take their word for it, so are we. Leveled up at 2 apiece. Looks like the timeout had the desired effect.
Yeah, it also feels a little bit like everyone's quite happy for that point to just be over, get a chance to recollect themselves. That was a real grindy one, and considering how this game started with such pace and efficiency, that was quite the long old point. It's 3 turnovers each. But we have to credit perhaps a little bit of the wind re-emerging. So we see Jakobsen putting on the cap as she sits behind the scoreboard.
Yeah, getting herself a little bit of a well-earned break. Rocking the 5-panel hat that's become very popular in recent years. I don't think I've quite got the style to pull it off.
Also, Benji, I like your woosion of Copen Hucks.
Okay, we might roll with that in future then. Ramos, underneath to Toscano, dishing it off. Already beyond midfield here, a Guayota. Speared in there. Moving this disc nice and quickly. Thought about that leading pass up line. Little bit of congestion. Ramos still able to find a way through. Looking for the gift go up the line. Defender does a good job of just getting in front and stopping that throw going. But eventually, they're able to find a way through.
Yeah, Navasta with the goal. I think, if my ears heard correctly, that Hucks were looking to put on a false middle during that point. Trying to kind of just ping Guayota and stretch them outwards, but a nice bit of finishing footwork. Not having to be too fancy, just a stamp in the end zone from Ramos, and a clean hold for Guayota. Looked pretty good and confident with the wind. Do you think this one is, because obviously this game started off with a break for Guayota downwind. Thus far, no upwind scores yet in this game. A couple of attempts too, some close opportunities squandered, but in these conditions, they weren't that windy at the beginning, Benji. So do you think there was a choice of end zones or a choice of offense or defense for the victor of the toss?
It'd be a really interesting one, isn't it? I think if it was these conditions when you started, you probably would choose the end zone, but obviously you're not quite privy to how the conditions will change before things get underway. Looking for the around break, forced as well to stop it. Klebitska putting a bit of air underneath it, looking for Müller. That is a much smoother point for Hucks, their first clean hold of the game to tie us at threes.
Well, after that big old meat grinder of a point, some fresh legs coming on for both sides. And as you say, 2 clean holds on the bounce. That is taking my concerns and melting them away. It was looking like this was going to be one of those matchups where it just became an absolute dogfight, which you don't want to see happen in the first half. Towards the latter stages, once you've really made those adjustments and have figured out your opponents, we expect to see that kind of actions, but that is some nice, swift movement upfield.
Yeah, every now and again you don't mind a little bit of a slugfest, but I think, especially when you know what both of these teams are capable of offensively, maybe it's not quite the contest that you would have liked to have seen. As we're seeing Hucks come out on defense now. Backhand break to Toscano. Now Patricia Gonzalez. Trying to find an option underneath it are Guayota. Just flipping the disc in the hand. You can see the switch of the grip there to find Gonzalez. She's trying to see if she can furrow that inside channel. A pick is called. He's going to stay, though, in the possession of Toscano.
Yeah, Colmenares looking very dangerous in that front corner.
Trying to utilise the break, dump swing offense there. And they got the traffic flowing towards the far side of the field and then punched in at the front of the end zone. Jessica Febles with the score.
I'm really enjoying when Guayota are executing their offense at the level that we expect from them. Just the connections, you can really tell that Guayota play together very often on beach, that it's a surface they're very familiar with. And there are a couple of moments where the passes are not quite as slick as you'd like them to be, but there's no real level of concern. It's just an adjustment is made and they play on. But if they can't sort of cement their connections, that little bit extra finesse, maybe it is the fact that perhaps a little bit of that late finish of their day yesterday, travelling here to Royan, having a bit of an impact, but not looking quite steady and smooth just yet.
Well, since that timeout that was taken during the point that eventually made it 2-2, we've not seen any turnovers, so I think both sides probably, I think, very glad that it was taken.
Indeed. Well, if you recall, Benji, I was surprised that it didn't come even sooner than it did that timeout, because it was a real grindy one as the pull lands out of bounds. So
Klebitska, I think, is going to have the decision about whether to take this from the brick mark or from the sideline, and evidently the decision has been made to bring it to the centre and to brick it. A little bit different defensively. High release over towards the far sideline. Popping up to make the catch is Carlson, who has no mark. Players on the far sideline saying that she was in bounds. Eventually, Dull is going to get into position. I think was just asking the question about whether or not she had towed the line. Klebitska to Jakobsen. Preventing the first pass. Now seeing if they can get a bit of that throw and go. Stopping, redirecting is Jakobsen. Wants the break backhand, it's not there. Klebitska fires it downfield. Carlson. Inside window there potentially. Now underneath on the open side, Müller just a yard or so outside of the end zone, swinging into the centre, losing a bit of vertical field position to get it back to Carlsen. Carlsen to Jakobsen. Two of them just playing it between themselves now. Being aggressive, taking on that around break to Müller. I like it. And then Müller utilises the break side flow down the far sideline, but it's overthrown and Noah can't get there.
Such a shame, Benji. What Hucks did really well there was just that conservation, that passive kind of movement back and forth, trying to kind of get that give-go motion going, but really just holding on to the disc, which this stage in the game, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But Müller getting a little bit too hasty and just launching that flick on the far side, perhaps a bit more of a grass throw.
So here's Dul. Begins the possession by breaking central. Now some continuation downfield. And Eros comes underneath, low snag made there by Navasa. One in the inside break, finds it. Now they're trying to get their own break side continuation going. On a high stall, Duel is just going to put some air underneath it and it's over everybody's head. Everyone, of course, except the receiver in the back of the end zone, who catches for a potential score, although there is a foul called on the contact underneath that initial pile of bodies.
Well, it was definitely a wise idea to just stay a little bit deeper of that pack. Perhaps not quite the best read from the three individuals who were trying to jostle around for that one, but difficult to say that that was contact caused by the Guayota player, obviously with the momentum coming through from the purple shirt. But that'll do.
Yeah, the Venezuelan Maria Patino catches to make it another Guayota break, 5-3. Well, you know, they've got two defenders on one receiver there, so making them go up early and kind of sandwiching them there seems okay until you remember that there is, of course, someone else lurking at the back there in Patino.
And Patino will also be playing with Shout this season on grass. Going to be playing EUC and World Beach Ultimate Championships next year.
Ooh, that's very exciting. There's the big man, Stef Pazzo, making the most of the sun. I don't know why he's wearing ski goggles, though.
I really like the sunglasses. I think they look really cute. And it suits the kind of mohawk-esque haircut he's got going on.
Yeah.
Is it a mullet or a mohawk?
It's a mullet.
Oh, I like that. Bit of woosion for the big man himself.
So having just conceded the break, Copenhagen will be looking to get back on the board quickly here. Just continuing to swing and then didn't secure the catch. And unfortunately for Kramer, it bounces off her knees into the sand. Glorious opportunity here to extend that advantage. Picking up, breaking, easy as that. Utilizing the low release to sneak it under the mark. And Ramos finds Patricio Gonzalez to make it 6-3. That was ruthless from the Canarians? I don't know what you call someone who comes from the Canary Islands.
Well, we'll have to find out and bring you that in the second half, although we are getting very, very close to the end of the first section of this game. As you say, that absolutely ruthless air bounce around break, which you can get away with throwing that downwind. You cannot do that shooting the other direction, but really, really lovely execution. I'm just... Now that Guayota have sort of, you know, reassembled themselves, screwed their limbs, hands, digits, appendages on correctly, I'm really enjoying the flow, the connections they're getting. There are moments where the defense of Hucks is stopping them, giving them moments of pause, but they just are looking very smooth right now.
And that one, there was space down the sidelines. Had choice of either receiver to pick down the near or down the far side, but a little bit overthrown, and Carlsen, despite the layout attempt, couldn't get there. Guayota looking to pull away into half here. Trying to keep that just moving quickly, but Hucks clamped down. And Eros. Reset tries to jink the way free. And this little switch there at the front just to gum up a little bit of that flow.
Well, and to commentators curse me, the downfield connections aren't really working. Big zip, though.
There is the put, opening up the arm, opening up the legs, and Eros gets her second goal of the game. And it was, you know, it was 3-3 a minute or so ago. Blink, and all of a sudden it's 7-3, and we're into halftime.
Absolutely demoralizing stuff coming out of Guayota, just really taking the opportunity well. Again, I think it was probably the defensive adjustments, but off to the races goes Patricia Gonzalez. And I mean, it's what happens when you sit around in the handler space for so long, right? It's the idea of, okay, well, this person's just going to sit here. They're going to be trying to get the disc back in the short ball space, but then realizing she's been given that opportunity, and on beach, you get an inch, you may as well have a mile. Off to the end zone she went.
Yeah, it's great, A, just to clear things out a little bit, and B, as you mentioned, if you see the space open up, no one peels off, you can continue to stretch that all the way to the end zone. And they took advantage of it there. Guayota 7-3 up at half, and then we're seeing the change of ends because Guayota started pulling from the left end zone, and that is now going to be what Copenhagen Hucks have to do at the start of the second period. See the pink Euro disc there, the official disc of these events.
Indeed, to get the right colour contrast against the sand. Although sometimes coloured plastics don't always have the right hand feel, as it were.
Although I am reliably assured from those who throw more discs than me that the luminous pink is actually pretty close to the white. I know that they tested various colours, and some of them they walked a little bit more easily. They didn't quite fly the same way. It's all a little bit over my head, as a lot of things are. I'm not a tall guy, but here we go. Second half underway.
And Guayota with the chance to, of course, consolidate their lead.
Looking to do the 2 for none.
Buy one, get one free.
This is nice, fluid offense. You see, pumping the fake, it gets the defenders biting, and now they've got the break side flow. Just stagnates a little bit, Ramos. Sees the inside shot, but this time it skims into the sand. That's the first turnover of the game from Guayota's O-line.
Well, all good things must come to an end, they say. That was just a bit of a lazy release, I think.
A lazy laser. I think a good force as well. Force a difficult throw. Nice high over the top there. Rika Rovang to her laying out sister Hella. Now breaking around, Milek lays out sensationally to bring it in. And there's a floaty one, and on the end zone line, Rika Hja brings it in and makes it 7-4. That is a break, the first of the game for Copenhagen Hucks. If you thought this was game over, think again.
Yeah, great composure for Kier, bringing that one in. I have to say, if this one's going to come back in favour of Copenhagen Hucks, they're going to have to keep doing what they currently are, which is just throwing everything and in the kitchen shed, if there's such a thing, garden shed. Well, everything in the everything in the kitchen sink. There we go. That's the weird analogy.
It's all right, I got you. Don't worry.
The metaphor. But at the moment, they are really having to throw themselves around on the pitch. Guayota's style is way more kind of like just throwing it into each other's chests, using the spacing, using the timing, and the occasional lead pass. Of course, we had that amazing layout score from Paulina Dahl. But in terms of Hucks, they are really asking a lot of each other in requiring themselves to make those bids in terms of the throws that they're putting out, so maybe they can reel those in a touch and make things a bit more conservative and stable. But then again, sometimes you need to be a bit unstable in order to get yourself into a game.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take those risks and you know, trust that you can reap the rewards. There's a deep shot that's opened up. I think the force did enough to dissuade that from going. A little bit of a riser that Ramos catches. Tight coverage. Still able to stick that one on Toscano. Patricia Gonzalez opens up the arm. Can she sit it over the top? Well, she could, but it just wouldn't drop properly for Perez Salamero.
Yeah, you can see exactly what Gonzalez wanted to throw as soon as she had the disc in her hands with that momentum up this line. But also shooting downwind, you have to holster it for that extra couple seconds.
Going to be brought to the end zone line by Klebitska. See if she can add to her 2 assists and help to get Copenhagen Hucks to close that gap. Well, she's looking instantly for the deep shot, and she put her hand up in acknowledgement because she knows that that is not going to do the trick.
Yeah, poor execution of the idea she had in her head.
Yoiza Ramos picks up and jacks it. And why not when Gonzalez can just backpedal her way through the end zone for the score.
I am slightly stunned, Benji. That was just really, really nice.
One pass ultimate. Why throw more than one pass when you don't need to?
Absolutely. And to be fair, I think it also just really shows the depth of the connections between the Guayota players. You know, when you have two people who can just almost, you know, telepathically communicate with each other. This is where I'm going to be on the pitch. Just throw me the rock. But what a way to score. 8-4 doubled up. And Copenhagen Hucks looking like they can't really do too much to shut down this Guayota offense when it's on fire. There were two people trying to cover that deep shot and neither were able to get a look in.
No, for the help defender there, they did the right thing. They're just kind of maybe eyeing that up. But it was kind of feathered over the top of them, and they both lost sight of the disc as well. So they kind of you're just putting hands up, flailing arms, hoping that maybe you get quite an unintended almost piece of it.
A flail D.
Yeah, but not on that occasion. So Copenhagen Hucks on offense for the first time this second half. I should say starting on offense. Because of course they have had the disc in both previous points since the interval. Hello, Royan. High down the line. Oh, it was contested and congested. Peterson. Just maybe a bit too casual with that one. Maybe a miscommunication. Errant throw. Eats the sand. Duel to pick up. And Duel uncorks it. She's looking for Aneros. Brilliant towering grab there, made in tight coverage. And then just continuing into the end zone. Guayota break 9-4.
It's a bit of a cheat code playing on sand this much, I feel, because whereas we oftentimes make the joke of a player being swallowed up by the sand monster, the vertical stretch that players like Aneiros are able to extend themselves upwards for, it's almost like they're just running on a natural surface you get your full bounce out of.
Right, you should not be able to get that sort of elevation and hang time on sand.
Practice makes perfect, though. Absolutely. Maybe we should find out, Benji. We should have some bonus behind-the-scenes content. Get some action on how to actually run on this surface for those that aren't already experts.
Just get lucky, I guess. That's my advice.
Get lucky.
The scoreboard on the far sideline has a number that does not exist because they're trying to do it upside down. But it is 9-4. We have it correct. Don't worry.
Well, hats off to the volunteers. I think they are not even teenagers, Benji, and they've now figured it out, and they're sorting it for us.
Got there in the end. Klebitska to Carlson. Carlson opening it up. I think this one's underdone. It is indeed. Gonzalez is there. Past the bidding Jakobsen into Ramos. Maybe that'll rev up the engines a little bit, as that is going to be a bump on the mark.
Yep, immediate accepted foul.
Ramos towards the far sideline. Gonzalez, champion last year with Guayota in the mixed division. Also represented Yaka on a number of occasions too. There's the option underneath. Just trying to play the disc around here, take advantage, knowing the space will open up. Threaded in there, there was a pick called.
I was going to say that looks a bit too scandalously good.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't know who precisely was picked, but certainly the defenders all stopped. And it might actually have been Klebitska who was marking, who was marking up against Gonzalez. Trying to still fit that one in down the line. And they're still going to make it work this time, just stealing a march with that slashing en passant cut to make it 10-4. Another break for Guayota, 3 in a row now for them.
Well, the Danes doing literally everything they possibly could try to stop and interrupt the Guayota flow, but just a casual layout, grabbing a score on a beach, you know, no big deal, NBD, just another day at the office for
it was
Guayota.
Not a big deal really for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the off the stoppage, excuse me, you know, they realised, okay, that was the option we had before, but do we have they're going to be expecting that. Do we have someone who's maybe in a better position? And there's just a couple of yards deep from the handler who had cleared through there, Ramos, and she was able to steal a march a little bit there on Jakobsen and went to the ground just to make sure that that's stuck in the claw. So his duel with the pool, and she's got the wrong edge on that one as it sails over the stand on the far sideline.
Hey. Pulling is quite key in beach, I feel.
I mean, I think it's not. I think it's quite important on every service, but I do see your point.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you get, because when offenses kind of get in motion and when they get into rhythm, it is so hard to stop them, really. So if you can, you know, prevent that by, you know, consistently pinning teams at the back of the end zone with the pull, you know, making them wait to come into play and getting your defense a chance to get ready, that can be so important. Lovely high release break with the backhand, and then a continuation Milek just outside the end zone. See what I mean about getting an offense moving and playing in rhythm. I think this one might come back on the pick, but that was lightning fast from Hucks.
Yeah, 2 lovely over-the-shoulder backhand breaks for Copenhagen.
Milek is going to have it just outside the end zone. I wonder what she's going to do here.
Throw a score.
There is going to be a little bit of catch-up, so there also must have been the pick downfield. Milek checks in. And, well, she is going to throw the score. It's not going to be there. Rika Rovang, showing that wonderful high release again. Still count beginning to rise, getting it off. Oh, it just rose a little bit. Maybe slightly awkward, trying to contort the wrist. Just tilted it up too much.
Should have thrown a score, mate.
Should have thrown the score. I mean, shouldn't you do that every pass?
Well, Milek is one of those players who probably can throw a score every time she passes the disc, if she wants to.
Navasa, nice high grab made there by Aneros, but going to go back on the pick. Little slap of hands.
Yeah, Aeneros, again, just what sand? What gravity? Oh!
What a bid, but doesn't come up, but doesn't also get any contact with the receiver. Picks herself up, dusts herself down. There's the break past another bidding defender. Continuation downfield. Aneros. High release from Duel, and I think when she released it, she knew.
Yeah, I think lost her footing a little bit. The kind of look on, the expression on Duel's face when she released that high release, slightly adventurous throw, considering you're shooting directly into the wind there. But at the end of the day, at this stage of the game, when you are 5 breaks up on your opponents, sorry, 4 breaks up, because Copenhagen Hucks have got 1 to their tally. When you're 4 breaks up, you can afford to try some curious things.
Milek. She's got the opportunity for the deep shot here. She uncorks it. It's sitting and it's floating. It's well tracked down by Rika Rovang. 1 player alone in the end zone, and the 2 Rikas link up. Kja this time with the score, and it is 10-5.
Yeah, lovely to see Kja back from injury this season. having herself a whale of a time and doing a lot of travelling with her ultimate playing.
Yeah, you'll have seen her suit up for Yaka at numerous points this season.
You certainly will.
And in previous seasons as well. Also played with Helsinki in not the World Championships last year, the previous edition, which was also in Cincinnati, strangely enough.
But nice to see things going in the favour of Copenhagen Hucks at long last. Good read from Royan to reel in that big deep shot, and then the communication, a clear point saying to Kerr, I want you to be over there, please, so I can throw you the Frisbee. But I think a little bit too late of Copenhagen Hucks finding their form, because we have just shy of 3 minutes of regulation time remaining.
Again, there's been a lot of congested and contested passes. This time the disc does hit the floor, but there is a foul call, I think. It's like Colmenares is the player engaged in discussion with BULA. Maybe getting a little bit of translation help.
Of course, the natural language for the Guayota team is Spanish. How's your Spanish, Benji?
Okay. Essentially non-existent.
Barely functional.
Right, but it's better than my Danish. Not that that's necessarily saying much.
I thought you were a good baker, Benji.
Just like my Danish. It's also not very saying much. Also, yeah, I like what you did there. Here's the blade down the sideline. Wonderful throw from Toscano to Patricia Gonzalez, making it 11-5. Gonzalez has been all over the stat sheet.
Which should surprise precisely nobody. Gonzalez was nigh on unstoppable last season when the Guayota put together their mixed outfit. Of course, taking that one. Gold medals. And they also had some success on grass as well in the 2022 season. Of course, it had the elite invite, which they scooped.
They did indeed. I'd forgotten about that.
We talk about Guayota as being a decorated beach team.
Oh,
but
they're no slouch on the other surfaces.
I've never seen them play indoors yet, though.
I mean, I haven't, but would you be surprised
No.
if they were good? No, I would not be either.
I'd like to see how much air Anairos can acquire on a sprung court. Probably about a metre.
There's another deep opportunity. A foul is called on the throw.
Yeah, you could hear that hand slap almost through our cans, Benji.
Yeah, I mean, Patino did the right thing because she knew that deep shot was coming, but maybe just didn't backpedal enough. And there's contact as Millet goes to release. Nice high over the top there. Royan shooting down the sideline for her sister, and the two of them link up to make it 11-6. Not entirely sure when the cap went on. There's the high release over the top that just, again, gives you that break side opportunity. And the continuation, full duel can get on the force into the back of the end zone, where Hello Royan is too far out in front for Carole Davila.
Yeah, both Royans having a good late stage of this women's pool play match, but I suspect at this particular juncture we're not going to see too much of a comeback surmounted. There's of course Pool B action where you just have to try and stay alive and avoid those two bottom spots.
Yeah, everyone in, so 2 pools of 6 in the women's division. The top 4 slots in each pool qualify straight to the quarterfinals. Just by the way, I heard conversation on the sideline that it is game 2-12, so this is game point for Guayota.
Yeah, and they've got plenty in the bank if this one doesn't come off in terms of their options. Tell you what though, Benji, I really want a little scoreboard flag or some sort of thing we could have our volunteer scorekeepers have at their disposal just to make it really super absolutely clear when the cap is applied.
So just brought in from the brick mark. Will this be the final possession? Wow, Gonzalez made sure that if it's up to her, it will be. Can they have the continuation just outside the end zone, looking for the break, being aggressive, not there. Now down the line, Gonzalez fittingly enough, with her 4th score of the game to go along with 2 assists and a block, as Guayota take this one 12-6 final score.
Oh, Benji, my goodness. I tell you what, ahead of this matchup, I really thought this was going to be a tight thriller of a game, but the tight thing about this match was just the connections between Guayota. They were on the money, they were really just on stride. I think there was some great defensive adjustments in the latter stages from Copenhagen Hucks as they started to settle themselves and get a couple more scores on the board when they had offense to start. But really, it was just the confidence that Guayota were able to play with, the connections between them. It's just a magical thing to behold. I'm so excited to see them play later on in this tournament. I'm sure they will feature in the championship bracket, maybe even getting themselves a women's gold medal to match their mixed, some might say.
Yeah, and for Copenhagen Hucks, yes, disappointed with the defeat here, but still certainly all to play for in the against the other teams in this pool, and they can still try and improve their position going into the quarterfinals, which start tomorrow evening. That's going to just about do it for us here, though, from your ULTI.TV crew and Hannah Pendlebury alongside me, Benji Reese, saying we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, ultimate.
ULTI.TV.